and women across the city of Chicago and Cook County, we stand in solidarity with our federal workers and calling on the president, end the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
Earlier today, I was at Midway Airport, standing side by side with our safety inspector, our professional aviation safety specialist, and we stood there on the cold corner of Cicero and 63rd Street, just calling out the plight of some of the people who are in charge of making sure we're safe. All these workers, they're not getting paid. They're dealing with a lot of stress. I mean, it was hard enough doing the job. Now they're doing the job without getting paid. That's not right. That's not fair.
That's not right. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not fair.
And there's this thing when you work and you don't get paid, that's called involuntary servitude, right?
Slavery.
Yeah, and you know what? 150 years ago, a guy from Illinois, he ended that, and he brought the nation together. And now we got a guy, new president, he's bringing it back, and he's trying to divide the nation. So, let's end this shutdown. Let's get everybody back to work. It's affecting everybody. It's not just affecting the tens of thousands of government workers. It's affecting millions of people who depend on the safety and the services of these people. So end the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
Thank you, Secretary Treasurer. We are starting to hear stories about how the shutdown is going to impact low-income people who rely on housing vouchers. Millions of people rely on these vouchers to stay in their homes, especially during the winter. We have the local president, Patrick Cano, from AFGE Local 911, who's going to speak about how the shutdown is impacting the millions of people who rely on HUD to make sure their homes are safe, are clean, and are affordable.
Thank you all for coming here. What I want to say is that the Department of Housing and Urban Development did put in a contingency plan to provide housing to Section 8 and Section 9 or low-rent individuals. That funding is going to run out February 1. After that, Housing Authority is going to be expected to run on whatever operating reserves they have or capital funds they have. For Section 8, the same thing is true. The Department of Housing and Urban Development front-loaded funds to provide subsidies for those Section 8 vouchers that will run out in most communities February 1. 5 days from that date, landlords will begin to issue eviction notices. Seniors, disabled, low-income families will be losing their homes. Real time, real effect. So, let's get back to work. Let's get Senate moving, let's get a bill passed, and let's end the shutdown now!
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
We also are hearing the impact on our environment, on our air and our water, and all the scientific information is not able to be collected, and all the polluters who are going without oversight. We have local president of AFGE Local 704, Mike McCulca, who's going to speak on the impact of the EPA being furloughed.
Thank you, man. Are you tired of someone putting a wall between you and the American public?
Yeah!
Are you tired of someone putting a wall between you, clean air, clean water, and clean land?
Yeah!
Let's end this shutdown now and put people back to work.
Yeah!
People are tired of working without pay.
Yes!
No one is issuing federal permits. No one is monitoring environmental data. No one is working on Superfund sites to clean up the contaminated land. No one is holding public hearings to get people's input on what should be done in the near future. No one is responding to freedom of information requests from the public.
We need to end this shutdown now and put people back to work. We need to protect human health and the environment. People at EPA want to do their jobs. Let's end this shutdown now. Thank you.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
All right, thank you, Mike. We're also hearing from people who work in air traffic safety, people who make our airports safe. We have Pete Rosa from PASS, the Illinois chapter, who can speak about how the shutdown is placing undue stress, undeserved stress, on the men and women who keep our air travel safe.
Let's go, buddy.
Let's go! When I came out here, I got a text. I just got it like 15 minutes ago. I want to read it to you real quick. It's from a friend of mine and a good man that travels around this country doing good work for air safety, doing good work to keep the flying public flying. He says to me, brother, I applied for food stamps today. Furloughed federal employees are eligible. Sad times. Sad times. This is a man that served our country. This is a man that sacrifices us. As federal employees, as civil servants, we hold ourselves to a high standard. We hold ourselves to a high standard. We're transparent. Ethics, codes. We do a job that a lot of people can't do. But yet today we find ourselves either sent home and not being paid or on the job and not being paid. The FLSA codifies the relationship between an employer and an employee, the morality that if I work, I'm going to be paid. It is a moral thing. In this country fights injustice all over the world. We find ourselves here today being exploited by our employer.
Yes. Go, Pete.
You know, it's the truth, and it needs to stop. The shutdown needs to stop because it's putting us in a position that we are taking advantage of the greatest workforce in this country. End the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
We have several other members of unions and federal employees who we're going to have speak, but we also want to thank Congresswoman Jen Schakowsky, who has helped bring together so many of the Chicago area members of Congress. You want to say
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Let's
Go, Dan! Way to go, Dan!
The members of Congress could gather round. We had a round table today because it's now time to listen to the patriotic workers in our country. What is life like for you right now? And we heard the stories about people who are facing mortgage payments that they can't pay, who are facing the inability to pay for the kind of care that their family needs, health care that their family needs, filling the prescriptions and paying the co-payments. We heard about workers who want to help the people they're supposed to serve, and we are going to see people evicted, senior citizens, people with disabilities who no longer can stay in their subsidized housing. We heard from workers in all facets, government employees, patriots who are helping make our country run, who are saying they cannot afford to work with no pay. We think that everyone deserves to get their paycheck, and we need to end that the shutdown now. And so I want to just make sure that I introduce and allow a word or two from each of the members who are here today and the takeaway that we heard. Let me just end with this. There is a manufactured crisis that the president has said at the border. But there is a real crisis in communities across our country, not just the 800,000 workers, federal workers, but the millions and millions of people who rely on the fantastic work that all of you do. That you should be asked to go to work with no pay or sent home. And even if you want to go get a part-time job, we're finding that workers are being recalled now, and what do you do to make ends meet? It's a crisis in our communities. So, Dan, you want to introduce yourself?
All right, I'm Danny Davis, and I represent the 7th District of Illinois. And somebody said a long time ago that freedom is a hard-won thing. Each generation has to win it and win it again. I'm just pleased to be here with all of you who are saying that we don't believe that federal workers ought to have to apply for food stamps, and then there are no food stamps there. I join with you, all of organized labor, all of the workforce, to make sure that we stop the shutdown, open up the government, and make America what America needs to be. Right on.
I'm Congressman Bill Foster. I represent Aurora, Joliet, Naperville, and the western suburbs here. And as a scientist, I understand the danger to families when environmental data crucial to their health is not being taken and it's not being monitored. And I understand the economic danger when the Commodities Futures Trading Commission does not have the employees monitoring the economic activity. The billions of dollars that are traded every day on the electronic markets out in Aurora, and the danger that can happen when those are not fair markets and they're not being safe for the economy. So there's a solution to this, which is to end the shutdown and to furlough Trump.
Furlough Trump! 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 Furlough Trump!
I am Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the 2nd Congressional District, South Side, South Suburb.
And you know this! And you know this!
And I'm happy to be with you, but sad that I have to be with you. And I understand as a single parent that raised 2 children, and times when I couldn't pay the bills, and my kids and I had to eat Cheerios for dinner. And that's ridiculous as federal employees that have jobs and should get paid, that you're asked to go out and work and do everything and be public servants and not get paid. You are public servants, not public slaves. I am here with you. I will do everything I can to get this government back open. End the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
Good afternoon to all of my fellow federal employees who are suffering as a result of the shutdown. I'm Congressman Chuy García from the 4th District in Chicago and some suburban communities. And I have to tell you, this is not what I expected when I took the oath of office on January 3rd. I went to Congress to put more people to work across the country in cities and rural areas across the land. And instead I have to tell you, as a former union member, I'm embarrassed that there are people out of work for the federal government because they're not being paid, their families are suffering, and they have to be getting loans and looking for food stamps. That's embarrassing and indecent for any working family in America. But I also want to remind you that all of the members standing here with you and in solidarity with you and your families, we already voted 9 times to reopen the government. What is missing here is for Mitch McConnell to call those bills and to put them on the president's desk. I believe that if that were done, the government shutdown would end, that the injustice would cease, and that we could get back to doing the things that people elected us Congress to do, to put all of America back to work. End the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
Hello everyone, my name's Lauren Underwood. I'm a Congresswoman from the Illinois 14th District. Suburbs. We have hard-working federal employees in the 14th that work at the EPA, that are air traffic controllers, that are not able to be paid for the work they are doing today to keep our country safe. We talk about border security, and as Democrats, we believe in border security, but we want to have a conversation and not have the federal government be held high negotiations. And so every day since we were sworn in on January 3rd, we have taken the votes to reopen government and restore order. And that is why I want to end the shutdown now. Thank you.
End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now! End the shutdown now!
I'm Sean Casting, Congressman. Listen, we need to thank all the federal workers who are here. As Congresswoman Chikowski said, the sacrifice that these men and women are making, and when we sat in that room and heard their stories, to a person, they were all describing how many people depend on what they do. These people are showing up to work, doing their job selflessly for others, and the least we can do is pay them. Truly the least. So let's end the shutdown, let's bring them back. And I want to make a couple things really clear. This is not about border security when we are not even paying our Customs and Border Patrol agents.
Right.
This is not about a lack of bipartisanship when the House is passing bills that passed the Senate with 92 votes 4 weeks ago.
Right.
And is getting bipartisan support. This is about two men going to own this shutdown and now doesn't have the courage behind his words. And this is about a second man who dares to call himself a leader and won't bring a vote to the floor of the Senate.
Call the vote! Call the vote! Call the vote! Call the vote!
Call the vote! Call the vote! Call the vote! Call the vote!
Call the vote! Thank you, all the members of Congress with us.
Where is Mitch? 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 Where is Mitch?
We've been working in solidarity with other unions. One have Florence Cannon, who works for the USDA. She's a member of the National Treasury Employees Union, Chapter 237.
Hi everybody, we wish we could be here on better terms, but my name is Florence Cannon, C-A-N-N-O-N, President Chapter 237 NTEU. We want to shut this, we want the shutdown to end now. We want Mitch McConnell to call a vote, and it's a travesty. I represent 800 people who are experiencing crisis. Look at these faces. These people are experiencing a crisis today, yesterday, not tomorrow, not next week, and not in March. We have front-loaded SNAP benefits that will expire in March. That is a travesty. We need to call a vote, and we need to end this shutdown now. We do not agree with the wall, and I am tired. Well, I represent employees who have to take a loan out to make medical co-payments. That is a travesty. We need to end the shutdown now. We need to call a vote. I am now, look at this face. I am eligible for SNAP and I monitor the program. That is a travesty. I am eligible for SNAP and we work for the program. That is a travesty. 3 hours, we're tapping out social safety nets. Food banks are tapped out. 3-hour wait for food pantries. That is a travesty. We need to end the shutdown now. Remember every face out here because we want to go to work now. We want to end the shutdown now. We want to end the shutdown now.
End the shutdown now. End the shutdown now. End the shutdown now. End the shutdown now. Pay the workers now.
Trump.
Pay the workers furlough Trump. Pay the workers furlough Trump. Pay the workers furlough Trump. Pay the workers furlough Trump. Pay the workers furlough Trump. Pay the workers furlough Trump.
Is Lori McCann available? Lori, I saw you. Lori. All right. Well, thank you everyone. We're going to do a picket around the Flamingo. We're going to keep our voices loud. We're going to continue to speak out. We're going to continue to hold rallies. We're going to continue to call our legislators. And we will continue to make sure that the people who work to make America run are able to keep running during this shutdown.
Yes. Thank you. Well, let's see if there's any questions from them.
Are there any questions?
Media?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Reverend Wilson.
Jeanette Wilson, W-I-L-S-O-N. On behalf of Reverend Jackson, who is traveling back to the country today, we want to extend our appreciation for all of our congresspersons who are standing with the workers. We're calling for the bill to be called in the Senate. We support what the House has already done. We thank God for Nancy Pelosi. And at push tomorrow, we can't pay the workers, but what we can do is provide some support, and we will be providing baskets of food for those workers that meet us at push tomorrow morning, just to help you go through the weekend. It's not right, it's not fair, and we're calling on all of the grocers around the country. Let's feed the workers while they are furloughed. We're asking the banks and all of the mortgage companies, we want you to delay any foreclosures, give these workers an opportunity to pay their bills when they return to work. In the meantime, we will be pressuring every member of the United States Senate. We want this legislation called in the Senate, and we do want to furlough the president. They should not be paid while the workers are not paid. Yes. Call the vote now.
Mitch, call the vote
now.
Mitch, call the vote
now.
Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote now. Mitch, call the vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Wilson, and give our thanks to Reverend Jackson as well. Federal employees have been receiving a lot of support. People are reaching out. You know, we encourage people who want to support federal employees during the shutdown. Call your legislators. Let them know that you want the government to open now. And we are working with the United Way and their network. And we want to make sure that people have the resources they need during this shutdown. We're going to start a picket around the Flamingo. Thank you. We will be letting the press know about our future events.